A lot. Hello, friends. If you're watching this or hearing my voice, thank you once again for taking a chance on the New England Camp Podcast. Welcome to episode 8 of season 1. Sooner or later, those numbers will become meaningless, but for now, this is episode 8 of season 1 of the New England Camp Podcast. I am your familiar friend, Bud Copeland. I'm the Director of Membership and Engagement for ACA New England. And this episode in April, we got summer right around the corner. We just wrapped up conference season for a ton of folks, including those that we saw in Manchester. Shout out to the New England Camp Conference. And that means if summer's around the corner, visits are around the corner. Bum, bum, bum. It's accreditation time. It's summer visits. But I brought a friend here to kind of lighten the load and to really shine a spotlight where it belongs on accreditation, which is the volunteer, the visitor, the member, you. And so here today I have with me John McNair. He is the standards chair for the New England Standards. He's the chair, pardon me. We just say standards chair because that's their shorthand. He is the chair of the standards committee for the New England, And I will let him introduce himself from there. John, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today? And please give the people your introduction, however you do that.
Well, yeah, thank you, Bud. Excited to be here and talk about the accreditation process with you all. And I've been a visitor for quite a while, 15 years or so now. So I've seen the process, and it's really meaningful. And hopefully we can help you out if you have any questions about that. So.
I like that you said that. You went straight for what makes us on brand, which is, yeah, he means that. If you hear this and you think about it, he's more than willing to talk. He's kind of the face of the resource to, if you ever reach out to Haley or myself. We're not subject matter experts in this. We know what we know and we're learned in our areas. But John is is part of the crew that we turn to often for guidance and help. And so let's start with there though. You went straight to work. When you're not doing your standards job, what do you do the rest of the time? How do you fill your 9 to 5 in the 10 months of the year that you're not at camp?
Yeah, I'm like many of you probably listening, a camp director. I work here in New Hampshire at a YMCA camp, and it's I'm just another camp director out there who's doing the good work of youth development. So.
All right, well, let's start there. What's your camp story? How did you become?
Oh goodness.
You start at birth, go. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, what is kind of your camp story that led you to be a camp professional? Where did it start? How'd it go?
Yeah, well, I started out, it must have been around 9 or 10, did a Cub Scout camp here in New Hampshire and had a great time. It was a week-long program, and got to sleep in a tent and be away from home for a week. It was that first time experience that was, nerve wracking, I think, as a youngster. But once I got settled in, I had a great time, met new people, got to do all the camp things, and wanted a little bit more. So the next year, my parents, gave me some options of places to go, and I ended up at Camp Coniston, YMCA camp up in New Hampshire. So I've been there ever since. Last year was my 30th summer there, so I've done everything from camper to flip pancakes and work on the grounds and work with the staff. So it's been an incredible journey, but I really enjoy it.
2 quick follow-ups. Shout out John Tilley up there at Camp Coniston. When I started at ACA New England, he was one of the first people that reached out to welcome me to the job. So I just really appreciate that, which kind of makes me snicker. You said how long you were there. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on that gentleman, but we'll save that for another day. Went off the rails there. Second part, you mentioned, you kind of snuck it in there. You said, I've done everything on this property from flip pancakes to the grounds and the facilities, and then on up to, I want to stop at that middle piece, the grounds and facilities. One of the things that I do is I work with emerging professionals in camping, which emerging is a relative term. Who's really emerging? Aren't we all emerging? But Epic, you've heard of Epic. People hear about Epic. Epic New England is, it's the folks who are out there doing the doing, much like yourself. And I want to ask you a couple questions. When you say grounds and facilities, what do you mean? Do you mean just like where things are or how they operate? What do you know about your grounds and facilities?
Well, for me personally, I worked on our when I was like right kind of going into the year-round position. I did maintenance work with our maintenance team. So I came in just being, an out of college student, didn't really know much about anything, and learned carpentry and plumbing and basic electrical workings, and got to pick up all those skills. Because as a camp director, you need to sort all that out. You got to figure it out, because at 11 o'clock at night, you can't always have somebody there to help you fix it. So you gotta know the basics. So aside from that, yeah, I mean, with a giant facility like we have, there's so many buildings, and just maintaining that facility it's a heavy lift, but it's a lot of fun.
We'll get to the standards in a second, because there's a whole side of standards about facilities. We're not getting into that.
There you go.
But the reason I brought it up is you're a camp director, and you mentioned that. And I had a similar experience in my life where I spent 2.5, 3 years working on the property with my father-in-law, who's the maintenance director, and I became what I call like a gym class athlete on my facilities. I knew where everything was. I might know where the shutoff valve is. I can fix what I can fix, but it was at least that intimate knowledge of the property, which I found invaluable. And that's why I say to anybody who is in that kind of epic arena, or even if you're not, or you feel stuck, or you're just trying to say like, how can I kind of level up my knowledge? Know about your property, know about your facility. You'd be shocked how invaluable it is when everybody's going, oh my OMG, something is happening. And you just go, and you just happen to know because you paid attention. So facilities, special shout out to anybody and everybody who has their hands in the dirt and the ground and behind the scenes at their camps. Because even though accreditation is, back to the standards, people kind of associate it with life jackets and things that you can see. There are standards around the things like facilities. So in that journey from, from camper to pancake flipper to camp director, it's the most relatable thing in the world. I do think that if you don't know if you can help or not, you can flip pancakes. Okay. If anything's going wrong,
right.
You can flip pancakes. Where did ACA get injected into your world?
Oh gosh.
Or when?
Yeah, I mean, right early on, the New England Conference is just a great place to take young staff. So that's that's how I ended up.
I'm rocking the mug from this year.
That's how I ended up with my first connection with ACA, was going to Manchester and going to some of those sessions, with the legends, the Ditters and Thurber and all those folks back in the day, and getting lessons on how to work with kids and all that. So yeah, that was my first taste. And then, I got tied into the accreditation process along the way. Accreditation is such a good tool to hand to a young new staff member and say, hey, this is the way to understand how this all works. So I was passed that torch and did it for our camp. So.
I like how you put that, because I'm laughing over here. You said it with a smile on your face, but a lot of things can be true at the same time. One person's pain in the ass can be another person's learning opportunity, can be another person's, whatever. And I do say, please, if you have folks at your camp who are interested in just becoming more involved professionally or understanding the craft, so to speak, as they would say in other areas, accreditation is a great tool. And specifically, if you're not at an accredited camp, or maybe you're like, I got accreditation down pat, becoming a standards visitor, telling this person like, all right, even if you're not going through the accreditation process yourself for your camp, here's another way that you can come into that side of things. And quick pause, we're nothing without visitors. I know that sounds cliche and kind of throw away, but if you reverse everything in the ACA universe, if you reverse engineer it, it all comes back to accreditation. It's what provides us our gravitas as an association. It's what the service that we provide the public for the greater good. It is all the things. Even these conferences are kind of born out of that idea of camp professionals coming together to share best practices. And so that's where accreditation fits in. And so I love how you said that that's how you were introduced to it, which is, hey, you're going to manage our accreditation, which when you go through an accreditation process and manage it successfully, I'm not going to say it's foolproof, but you're in a very good position to run your program, run your organization, and you don't have to be in charge to have that knowledge or go through that experience. I can vouch for probably, I'm going to be very bold and say hundreds of camp directors and owners who would love nothing more than to use accreditation as a vehicle for professional growth, for their business sustainability, and to have another set of eyes. So, at what point in your world did you go from that, like, all right, I'm managing this side of it, to I want to get out there, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to become okay, I'm going to be a kind person, an accreditation volunteer, and we still say visitor because you just not old habits, but it's an earned identity. I will say, even if the title has
Yes.
changed, it's an earned identity here, especially in New England. So, when did your identity start to include ACA visitor?
Yeah, so I took the volunteer course. Yeah, around I think it was 2012. It was the model where we would go away for the whole weekend and roll
Churn
up our
butter.
sleeves and yeah, we'd dive deep into the standards and how it all worked. But yeah, that was sometime shortly after I kind of went through the accreditation process for managing it for the camp. I was able to see how it worked on the camp side, and it became one of those things where I was like, I really want to get around and see what other places do, which was really eye opening because when you work in your lane, when you're in your camp and you do you understand the standards in the way that your program operates. When you go somewhere else, you see how another camp is achieving compliance with that standard in a completely different way than you do, and you're like, wow, it keeps you very open minded to how you can enhance your program and learn from others and do things in a different way. So yeah,
I
it
love
was
that. I love
it
that
was
you
a
you you
fun time.
the aspect of going around and seeing other programs. That's genuinely one of the other reasons people say, like, I want to become a visitor, because it gives me an opportunity to go see other programs that I either wouldn't have an opportunity to see. I will say this: here in New England, especially, it's the most collegial group of quote unquote competitors I've ever met in my life. I mean, everybody is doing the same thing. We all need kids. We need heads and beds for a set number of weeks, and we want them to go home happy, healthy, making friends. But the thing about accreditation and standards is, like you said, it is an open-minded process because it's suggestive, not prescriptive. That's not 100% accurate, but what I mean by that is, if you look into it and you talk to a standards visitor, or you talk to accreditation people, it doesn't tell you what to do, and that shocks some folks. In my job, when I have these introductory conversations, sometimes people will say, all right, well, where's the book? And I'll introduce it to them, and they'll say, but where does it tell me what to do? And I'm like, it's an interview. The book is an interview. It's not sexy, but it's up there saying, hey, this is a situation that happens at camp, or this is a facility, or this is, are you going to have refrigerated food? Okay, then you probably have to do X, Y, or Z. And then there's probably going to be, so it's much more like having a personal professional consultant that is made up of just generations of camp knowledge that's guiding you every step of the way. And so I appreciate that you said there's this open-minded aspect of it, because it does force some vulnerability on behalf of the camps. And so when we say, accreditation volunteers are visitors, I think that's the perfect title, because we are guests. You're opening it up and you're saying, come poke around and check me out and let me know. And we know you're putting on your best face, and we presume the best because you've agreed to this process. So that spirit is huge and deep here in New England. And I appreciate that you are the face of it. All right, the training. You mentioned the training used to be a couple of days old. Will you take me back real quick? What is something that you remember, or a memory that you can share on air from that weekend? Whether, who, where, what, when, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had some like legendary trainers for that
It's the,
course. I
it's the
mean, we
who's.
we
Let's
had like
talk
yeah,
names. Yeah.
we like Nancy and Ken and all those folks that back in the day would run the course, and I know some of them are very much still involved with the education process. So yeah, the memories from that weekend were great. There were long hours of sitting and talking and sharing and you know uh, kind of mocking up situations and how would you respond to this, and really just hammering in that point that the process is just about like education and just about helping each other. You mentioned like in New England we're kind of competitors in the field of camping, but in the visitor and accreditation world it very much feels like we're collaborators. So it was like learning how to share what you know and help guide people through the process. So, yeah, it was a fun weekend.
And see, I didn't even tee it up like this, but I love that you mentioned the people. That's what stuck out with you. It's very on brand. And those people, when you go through your training, especially here in New England, they're not just a one and done. They give you their information. They say, hey, whether it's training related, standards related, you're in camping, I'm in camping. We went through this thing together, and so there's going to be that bond. And I'll say there's a couple of ways. If folks are like, get on with it. How do I become a visitor nowadays? How do I do it? It is as simple as going online, and there's an application you can fill out, or you can give, I'm pointing to myself, but really what I mean is Haley, Haillie, Haley, or you can find us on the website. Find us on the website, reach out, say, I'd like to become an ACA New England visitor. We'll connect with you. And the trainings there's a couple options now because of the changing times for various reasons. It's gone to a 2-part training where it's online. And the online part, there's the first part is asynchronous, do it on your own, kind of like traffic school without the negative, issue of why are you in traffic school? And then there's a part 2. And this is what I'm getting to. This is the point that I'm trying to get at. Thanks for sticking with me is if you're fortunate enough to be around one of the part 2s that are offered live, most of them are offered online now because of the changing of the times, the flexibility, the accessibility. We want to get as many people included in this program as we can. I'm an and guy. That's my 2026. I'm challenging myself to say and no matter what and see if I can get through it. And if you're fortunate enough to be here in New England in the fall or around the New England Camp Conference or with our friends down at New York, New Jersey, they host a couple of live trainings a year as well. And ACA visitors are ACA visitors. Your training's good here, there, and the other. I highly encourage you to check out one of these live in-person courses because the connections that are made around these topics, like John pointed out, we're hammering over these things, but it's with people that you normally wouldn't say, let's get together and talk about this kind of stuff, but you're forced to over this common goal, and you make some friends in that space, and then it just grows from there. So I'm glad you highlighted the people. As much as I think the slide deck that we created is second to none here in New England. All right, trainings. So I've never been out on a visit. What's it like? Walk me through not just a visit, but start kind of towards the beginning of the year. What is the year like for an accreditation volunteer? In your mind, when are you actually expecting that email from Haley saying, hey, and then from there, how do you determine, are you going on a visit? Am I not going on a visit? Talk me through your kind of years, your years of visitor.
Yeah, so the year as a visitor, we start out kind of around the holiday season with letting everybody at the office know what our availability is for the year and what we're able to do, and then from there we the standards committee works with Haley on assignments, and then you get that info in March where you're going to be visiting this summer, and you kind of take it from there and make the connection with the camp, let them know that you're there to support them through the process, and hopefully meet up with the camp that you're visiting at the conference if they happen to be there as well, and kind of put names with faces. And then from there it's just support. Camps that are new to the process go through the written document review. The visitors kind of work with the camp through April on the set of kind of those primary standards to get the ball rolling, make sure the visit is teed up for success for the camp, and the visitor is able to kind of help support through that process if there's questions along the way, and then line up the visit date, and then everybody gets crazy during May and in gear up for camp, and then so we get that going, and then we dive right into visit season. So yeah.
So now that we've dove into visit season, this is the thing that I think about every day, and I'll be very, very frank and upfront with folks because I owe my life to the world of camping. I'll lay right there, my family, my connections, everything. And people say, why don't you work at a camp anymore? There's reasons. So I've never been out on. People are like, is it nefarious? No, family, which is why I have this job. And I like coming out on these summer tours, but I've never been on a visit. So walk me through visit day. I mean, obviously communication is key leading up to it. Like you said, hopefully you're connecting with your camps and there's back and forth. The written document review I hear is an absolute gem, even if you've been there before, because the best advice I hear time and time again is just paperwork. Make sure your paperwork is kind of organized and ready to go, and it makes everything flow from there. But what is a visit day like? And I'm not going to say typical because wink, wink, there is no typical day, but talk me through a visit day.
So a visit day normally, this has been my experience in 15 years of visiting, but we
full disclosure, this is the John McNair lens. There are 250 plus visitors in New England. This is the JM file.
Yeah. So normally roll in towards breakfast or the tail end of breakfast, get to kind of see how the day gets started for the camp, and then from there, we just dive right into starting to look around the camp, see the facility, stop in at all the places, the health center, the kitchen, looking at vehicles, visiting program areas, that sort of thing, talking to staff. I'm sorry, my robot vacuum is kicked in.
Oh, brother, you're good. I can't hear that. If you can't hear the contractors downstairs nailing things into the floor.
So that's that's kind of how it goes, and then we roll right into going through the binders. I say binders because I'm an old school guy. I've viewed a lot of binders over the years, but a lot of people do it digitally now as well. So going through the standards and looking at all the paperwork, all of that, and then we start that scoring process and normally break for some lunch. Have had many a delicious camp meal around New England, and then back to more scoring.
You referenced binders. I say back in the day. A lot of people still use them. You're right, because it's a tangible, easy, accessible way. The standards are broken up into a certain number of areas, and folks often will organize their paperwork by that area, have a binder for each area, etc., ad nauseum, ad infinitum. A couple of things, if people are ever saying like that sounds easy, I always say it's not complicated work, but it can be. It takes dedicated time. It is slow. It does take dedication. You do need to ask the questions, be ready for the answers, the back and forth. Another thing, wear comfortable shoes and drink lots of water. It's just like any other day at camp. You're going to be on your feet a lot. You're going to be moving around. If mobility is something that you're like, well, I'm not like everybody else. Well, guess what? Not all camps are for everybody and not all situations are for everybody, but we have one for everybody. I guarantee you. Haley does a great job with working with our standards committee to place people appropriately, to make sure that we take all things into consideration that are within our control. So I do want to also let you know that there's all sorts of definitions of what a visitor is and looks like, because we have folks from day programs, overnight programs, single gender, multiple genders, STEM, sports, cooking. We don't have enough surf camps in New England, but I digress. Is there anything that you would say? Actually, there's something I did want to say. Is there any advice or anything that you want to say to folks listening if they're thinking about doing this, or what are some of the benefits that you've drawn from your experiences over the years that would encourage folks to say, it's worth a shot or a conversation?
Just in terms of like getting involved with the
Becoming
process?
a visitor.
Or
getting involved on the visitor side. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah. I would say, I just highly recommend it to anybody. Anybody that I talk to who's in camping, I say...
We are cultish sometimes when we talk about it. It's fine, though.
I say do it just because of the amount of things that I've learned from other people doing visits and visiting with other incredible visitors. You learn so much about how to make your program even better. So there's such a personal gain from the process. So you're helping support another camp through the accreditation process, which is always wonderful to give, but you get to take back so much in return and enhance your program. So there's just so much to gain from it all.
I will piggyback on that and say there's a lot of ways to get involved within that realm too. If you're like, I can't go on 5 visits, I can't leave my camp every summer. you can go every other summer on a visit. You can do annual accreditation or AAR, annual accreditation report reviews for us, which is the document stuff. If you're not getting a camp visit that summer and your camp just has to say, yes, this is all the stuff that we're doing to make sure we're still accredited, we need volunteers in a lot of different ways, shape, and form.
Yes.
I wanted to start with John McNair because our standards chair does dedicate a lot of his time. And more importantly, right now is John, you and the rest of the standards committee throughout the summer, you all are running camps. And we ask visitors to step aside a day or two throughout the summer and go on these visits. But I will say to you and the rest of the standards committee, thank you so much, because you're essentially, you've kind of been on call for Haley and I, these, for by definition, the rest, the extension of the camps. And people, we got the group chat going in the summer times. We triage accordingly. So just know that when you reach out to ACA New England in the summertime with a standards related question, you're not reaching out into a void. You're actually reaching out to a specific area of expertise. And it's been personified by John today. So John, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the support, both on and off camera. And do you have any parting words before we leave the episode?
Oh, parting words. Yeah,
It's all on you.
Thank you and Haley for all the organization back at the office. It's a great team. And yeah, a big shout out as well to the standards committee, because the work they do throughout the year is incredible. So thank you all.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in episode 8. We will be back next month with episode 9. That's how math works. John, thank you once again. I'm Bud with ACA New England. Keep being there for one another. We're always here for you.